We have a special presentation before we move on to the next message service. In honor of homecoming today, we have Reverend Bill Whitley, who is going to share some history of the chapel. So Reverend Whitley, would you like to come up, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to make this rather brief, and it's going to be a brief sharing, not a detailed sharing of the history of the chapel. The history of the chapel is much more detailed than what I'm going to share. But for those here who have not heard the background or heard any of the history of the chapel, this will give you a pretty good perspective. Early meetings of what is now the Metaphysical Chapel of Life were held in 1985 in Reverend Erwin Yacker's home in Norfolk, Virginia. And those meetings were held under the auspices of the Church of the Morning Sun. At that time, just before that time, Erwin and I were attending the Church of the Morning Sun in Norfolk, upstairs above a questionable business below. And that's where all of this started. Alice Miller was the minister, lead minister at the Church of the Morning Sun. And at that time, she and Erwin were running the church together in Norfolk, and she decided she wanted to go back home. Day's homecoming. She decided she wanted a homecoming. So Alice went back to Scotland.
Oh.
The church dissolved, the building was let go. So we met in Erwin's home until October 25th of 1985. The Church of the Morning Sun moved to Newport News. Founding members were Reverends Erwin Yacker and Bill Whitley. The church name was changed to the Chapel of Life when it was chartered under the auspices of the Bridge of Light on April 11th, 1986. Founding members were Reverends Erwin Yacker, Bill Whitley, and Kathy Menino. The Chapel of Life was initially located in Hampton, Virginia, before moving to this building, our current home in Newport News. And I'll tell you where that was. That was in the first meetings that we had in Hampton were in the FOP Lodge bar over on the corner of Magruder and what's the name of the other road? Right in front of Tysinger. It's now a health facility. But that's where the FOP used to be. And that's where this chapel first met on this side of the water. So we moved from above a questionable business to a bar. And then we moved here. We found out about this place and everybody decided, well, that looks like a good location. And we've been here ever since. The Metaphysical Chapel of Life, as we are known today, was then chartered as a church under the auspices of our mother church, the Church of Enlightenment, on April 26, 1998. And that's a brief sharing of our history. And what I'd like to do at this point in time is to recognize all of the ministers that have contributed to the Chapel of Life up until now. And I have two lists that I want to read. The first list I'm going to read is those members that were ordained through the Church of Enlightenment and are now or have been active ministers here at the chapel since their ordination. And the first one I have on my list is Reverend William A. Whitley. So you see him.
Congratulations.
And as I call the names of the other ones, if they're present today, I'd like for them to stand, because there are some people here who might not know or recognize them. Reverend Sharon Flynn. Reverend Anita Rosemary Tiemann, Reverend Diana Lynn Dewey, who now lives in North Carolina. Y'all can sit back down if you want to. It's more comfortable in them chairs. Reverend Roy D. Hearn, who is now a professor in New York City, teaching religion and other spiritual subjects in college. Reverend Shirley Ann Hancock, Reverend Betty A. Mason, I want to say something about Reverend Betty Mason that Debbie hasn't already pointed out. You all have raffle tickets in your hand that Betty gave you when you came through the door. Those are for gifts out there on the table, which will be raffled off today. And I would like to really, really thank Betty for donating those gifts for this occasion. Betty always comes forward and goes above and beyond and goes that extra mile to make sure that things here at the chapel are beneficial and go forth with the right foot first and going forward always. Thank you, Betty. Reverend Betty Mason.
Yeah.
Reverend Jenny Seeley. And Reverend Jenny couldn't be here today because she's taken over another church today, and she is presiding at that church and ministering at that church while the minister's in Washington today. So thank you, Jenny. And last but not least, Reverend Trish Glad. And I'd like for you to know and them to know and everyone else to know that everybody in this chapel appreciates the service that they have each given to this chapel and continue to give. So thank you all very much. The next list that I have that I want to honor deceased ministers who have served the chapel. And the first is Reverend Irwin S. Yacker. Next, Kathy Menino, Reverend George Kincaid, and Reverend Bob Gately. And we honor each of them today. Thank you very much for allowing me to share.